Good morning everyone. Last class lo we are already completed first unit testing of hypothesis. Testing of hypothesis అనేది మనకు ఫస్ట్ యూనిట్ లో కంప్లీట్ అయిపోయింది. దెన్ యూనిట్ 2 large samples. Large samples. Generally, the samples completely depending on sample size small n. For example, we are taking population size capital N and a particular population we are selecting the sample and sample size small n. Small n. They based on the small n. Here n greater than 30, n less than or equal to 30. More than 30 observation we are considered as a large samples. Below 30 observation we consider a small samples. Large samples lo we are using the test is a test. Here, large samples lo first we have to discuss about the population. A group of observations under the study is known as a population. And examples of populations we are taking number of students in a SR university, number of students in a SR campus. We are taking the examples. Number of plants in a garden. Number of chairs in the classroom. Number of students in the classrooms. We are taking many examples. And also population size. Population size ni manamu capital N తో ఇండికేట్ చేస్తాం. పాపులేషన్ సైజ్ ని capital N తో ఇండికేట్ చేస్తాం. And here the number of individuals in a population, number of individuals in a population is known as a population size. It is denoted by capital N. It is denoted by capital N తో ఇండికేట్ చేస్తాం. And sample a finite part of the finite part of the population is known as a sample. Sample example, you are selecting 10 students from the Mstcs second year class and selecting rose plant from the garden. Selecting rose plants from the garden by taking as a sample, and sample size, population size, sample size small n తో ఇండికేట్ చేస్తాం. The number of individuals in a sample, the number of individuals in a sample is known as a sample size denoted by small n. And based on the sample size, depending on the sample size, the sample is divided into two types. Sample size ni small n ని బేస్ చేసుకొని sample అనేది two types గా డివైడ్ అవుతుంది. One is large sample. Second one is small sample. Large sample is n greater than 30. Small sample is small n less than or equal to 30 observations. This is the condition for the large and small. And we need to talk about hypothesis. Any statement about the population parameter, any statement about the population parameter is known as a hypothesis. Is known as a hypothesis, and depending on the nature of the hypothesis, it is divided into two types. Nature of the hypothesis again divided into two types. One is null hypothesis. Hypothesis అంటే any statement about population parameter is known as a hypothesis. And nature of the hypothesis is divided into two types. One is null hypothesis. Null hypothesis is a definite statement about the population parameter. A definite statement about the population parameter is known as a null hypothesis. We are indicating with the H0. And also null hypothesis means there is no significant differences between the population parameter and estimated value. Population parameter and estimated value is known as a null hypothesis, and it is denoted by H0. And also nature of the alternative hypothesis. The nature of the null hypothesis, we are taking the alternative hypothesis. any hypothesis which is alternative to null hypothesis is known as a alternative hypothesis. It is denoted by H1. Degrees of freedom. The number of independent observations, in given population or distribution is known as a degrees of freedom. And also degrees of freedom equal to total number of observation minus number of cancellation. Number of cancellation is the formula of degrees of freedom. For example, I am taking x variable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to find out the standard deviation sigma. One by n summation xi minus x bar whole square. X bar value is 3 and a small n is equal to 5. You can write 1 by 5 and 1 minus 3 whole square plus 2 minus 3 whole square plus 3 minus 3 whole square plus 4 minus 3 whole square plus and 5 minus 3 whole square. N observations ఉన్నాయి 1 2 3 4 5 observations ఉన్నాయి. ఒకటి ఇండిపెండెంట్ అవుతుంది. 3 minus 3 is 0 అవుతుంది కాబట్టి జనరల్ గా మనకి ఇక్కడ డిగ్రీస్ ఆఫ్ ఫ్రీడమ్ ఎంత జనరేట్ అవుతుంది అంటే n minus 1 జనరేట్ అవుతుంది. n is the number of observation and one observation is cancellation. This is the formula. Total number of observation is small n and number of cancellation is 1. That is the degrees of freedom n minus 1. and critical value, significant value, or table value. Most important for testing of hypothesis. టెస్ట్ లో మనకు టేబుల్ వాల్యూని ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేయడానికి క్రిటికల్ వాల్యూ అనేది చాలా యూజ్ అవుతుంది. A value that separate the critical region or exception region is known as a critical value. A value that separates the critical region and exception region is known as a critical value. And the levels of significance, LOS, levels of significance is the most important definition. And in this chapter, the probability of making the types of errors, the probability of making the types of errors is known as a levels of significance. We are taking the alpha is equal to probability of type 1 error, and we are taking the beta is equal to probability of type 2 error, and we are taking the power of test. Power of test is 1 minus beta, probability of correct decision is the levels of significance. Mainly we are taking the levels of significance is alpha మాత్రమే తీసుకుంటాం. And the different critical values of Z test. Critical value ni Z test లో at different levels of significance is known as a Z test at different levels of significance. The different critical values of Z test at a different levels of significance. ఇక్కడ మనకు టేబుల్ కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ క్లియర్గా ఇచ్చారు. 10%, 5%, 1% is the levels of significance alpha. టేబుల్ వాల్యూస్ అన్నీ కూడా మనం ఇక్కడ నుంచే కన్సిడర్ తీసుకుంటాం. జెడ్ టెస్ట్లో మనకు జెడ్ టెస్ట్ మనం యూజ్ చేసినప్పుడు నల్ హైపోథెసిస్ యాక్సెప్టింగ్ ఆర్ రిజెక్టింగ్ అనేది ఎలా ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేస్తామనంటే జెడ్ క్యాలిక్యులేటెడ్ లెస్ దెన్ ఆర్ ఈక్వల్ టు జెడ్ టేబుల్ వాల్యూ. ఈ టేబుల్ వాల్యూని ఇక్కడికి తీసుకుంటాం. Z calculated according to depending on formula, and Z table value completely taken from the this table. So Z calculated less than or equal to Z table value. ఈ condition is satisfied చేస్తే null hypothesis H0 is accepted, otherwise rejected. So ఇక్కడ alpha లో right tile test. Left tile test. And two tile test. So right tile test అంటే null hypothesis లో greater than సింబల్ ఉంటాయి. లెఫ్ట్ tile test అంటే నల్ హైపోథసిస్లో లెస్ దాన్ సింబల్ ఉంటాయి. టోటల్ అని అంటే నల్ హైపోథసిస్లో నాట్ ఈక్వల్ టు సింబల్ ఉంటే మనము రైట్ లెఫ్ట్ టోటల్ ని కన్సిడర్ చేస్తాం, ఐడెంటిఫై చేస్తాం. అండ్ రైట్ టైల్ టెస్ట్ కి at the levels of significant alpha 10% the value is 1.23 and right tiled test at the levels of significance 5% is 1.65 is the table values. And right tiled test ki at the levels of significance 1% is 2.33 and left tiled test ki at the levels of significance alpha 10% value is minus 1.23. left tiled test ki levels of significance at the levels of significance 5% is minus 1.65 and also here also minus 2.33 and the two-tile test is at the 10% levels of significance 1.65 and the two-tile test 5% is 1.96 and the two-tile test at 1% is 2.58. This is the different critical values of the test at different levels of significance. And the critical value is completely depending on table value at the levels of significance 10% and 5% and 1%. So next testing procedure అనేది important and testing for single main ఉంటుంది and related problems కూడా ఉంటాయి. These are the we have to discuss in next class.